Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the monthly Council Rock School District Finance Committee meeting. I'd like to point out that our retiring Director of Business Administration is hiding in the back of the room, and leading this first Finance Committee meeting is Wilson. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
The show is yours.
Thank you. We have 4 items on tonight's agenda. The first of which is a discussion, 3 items to go to the board agenda later this month. Kevin Karpak, Cornerstone Investors, is here to give us an update on our quarterly investment performance. It's our discussion item. The 3 board agenda items, we have an increase in a recommendation to increase hourly wages for support staff substitutes. So Mrs. Taylor will give you more information on that. And then I will present to you the for approval of the 2019-20 BCIU budget and a recommendation to change the TCC delegate from Mr. Reinhardt to Mr. Stone. So without further ado, Mr. Karpak, you're up.
Right. Thank you. And this will be relatively brief with a lot of good news. Just as a quick update on Cornerstone, it isn't in the presentation, but we recently heard that for the 3rd straight year, we've been voted one of the best places to work in money management by Pensions and Investments magazine. So, that really, we think, is a testament to the fact that we create a pretty good work environment and our employees work hard but enjoy what they do. So just wanted to put that on the record. And if you don't mind going ahead.
Congratulations.
Oh, yeah.
That's great news.
Well, thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
You want to try?
Yeah, sure. All right. So quickly, what we, this is a little bit of an eye chart on the screen here, but if you look at the lightest blue line, it's the steepest one that begins at the lowest point. There we go. At the lowest point, what we wanted to do was show you where interest rates have gone since Cornerstone has been retained. And what you'll see here is that if you compare the light blue line to the green line, short-term interest rates have gone up a lot. What that means for the district is we've been able to drive a lot more investment income out of the cash that you collect from both the bond proceeds, but so the bigger pool is from the tax proceeds that come in and they get spent down over the year. The one thing I would mention is if you looked at your retirement plan statement recently, the 4th quarter was a rough one for equity markets, but a really good one for our purposes because interest rates continue to move up. The reason I bring that up is not because the district lost any money. We've made a lot of money. But what happened was the Federal Reserve, who controls short-term interest rates, has gotten very squirrely. At first, if we had talked 4 or 5 months ago, the Federal Reserve was talking about raising interest rates 3 or 4 more times, which would mean more income for the district. They've backed off that as of now, and to try to control some of the temper tantrum that's been happening in the stock market. That could lead to some different strategies, nothing risky, but different strategies going into the next fiscal year. And we look forward to working with Mr. Stone to develop that strategy as we go along. This is really that chart, so I'm only going to tell you the one number that's important. I do have hard copies if anybody wants a little bit more legible version, but what we do each month and each quarter is an accounting similar to what you receive from Bob and Gail of where the assets are held. So you can see Wilmington, you can see TD, Pliget, all the way down to some First National Bank of Newtown assets. But I think most importantly is if you look at that number right there, halfway through the fiscal year, the cash investments have made over $910,000. The budgeted number is about $1.25 million. The budgeted number is $1.25 million, so I'm confident we will come north of that number for the fiscal year. And some of that has been tailwind from the Fed, some of it has been some good movement of assets around. If you look at this page, we made the fonts a little bit bigger here, but where you see the orange letter D, that's the Wilmington Trust portfolio. A is the Pliget portfolio, B is the TD portfolio, and C is the the First National Bank of Newtown portfolio. I would comment that the First National Bank of Newtown deposits are generally small and very transitory, which is why it's a little bit of an outlier. But the one point I would make is, along with working out some of the final steps of implementing the Stonecaster portfolio, which the board has approved pending contract negotiations. One thing I would point out that we have to continue to work on is driving that TD crediting rate up as interest rates move up. But overall, everything in the portfolio is going well. The rest of the presentation has the quality of the bonds and all the backing of the deposits. We won't get into any detail on that. Bill is about to throw me out the door already, so with that, I will kick it over. If anybody has any questions or thoughts.
Well, I'm glad you highlighted the excellent performance on the return, because if Mark was here, he would have done that. And I think that's, I'm not being funny, that's why we made these moves over time, and that's great to see. And thinking into next year, as the climate gets a little bit more difficult, it's going to be interesting to see that line item in the budget and what that means to our work. Thanks.
Thank you, and I would be remiss, this will be my last time on the record while Bob is a full-time employee, and I just wanted to thank him for the past couple of years. It would have been really easy to slow play or not embrace changes. The school district is doing things differently and quite frankly better than most of the other school districts in the state at this point. But Bob and Gail really have put in the time to understand what we're doing, and we're excited to work with Bill going forward. With a single reminder that as Mr. Reinhardt travels south from his fishing excursions, that haul can get lighter in Bethlehem on the way home. So we're just stopping anytime.
Bill and I went up and met Kevin and Skip on Monday and spent over 2 hours with them going over everything. And I think Bill is also very impressed with the system that we have here, oversight that many other school districts don't have. And he said, I wonder why others don't do this. So that was telling to me that we're doing the right thing.
Do you have a rate of return annualized?
Or, yeah, if you look at, I can give you the current yield, but if you look at page 4, that year-to-date number, so the Wilmington Trust portfolio returned 1.8%.
Right.
The Pliget returned 1.7, and PD was at 1.5. So that was a 1-year return. Right now, the current yields, and this is where I mentioned, we have to do some work with PD, is the current yield of Pliget and Wilmington Trust are 2.25% to 2.3%. They're at 1.8%, and that's been a chronic thing where, you know, having to go and negotiate it every time. By moving some money to Stonecastle and utilizing these other tools, they're more responsive to actual just increases in interest rates.
And Kevin, you mentioned that if we wouldn't be able to move money out of TD to Stonecastle, you believe we'll gain 40 basis points, 45 basis points?
3 years.
Yes.
Yep. That will be the case, and what we're trying to avoid. So Pliget has a really healthy current yield as well, but there have been concerns, and rightfully so, on the size of their insurances versus how much the district has with them. So, so that's why we're looking to diversify.
Thanks.
All right.
Great job. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, thank you.
Have a nice dinner.
My father is very hungry, so I need to get him.
Yeah, the next item on the agenda, this is a recommendation to go on to the board agenda of February 21st. So Mrs. Taylor is going to present a recommendation regarding an increase in hourly wages for support staff substitutes.
Thank you, Bill. So I'm here tonight to ask for your consideration of a rate increase for our substitutes for our support staff. And to put it into context very briefly, our support staff is made up of our teacher assistants, our cafe aides, our recess aides, our hall monitors, our bus monitors, and clerical support. We have 508 members of the support staff group. 400 approximately require subs. The remaining are office employees, and we don't utilize substitutes for their services. So when we look at our current rates, you'll see right away why I'm sitting here tonight and how drastically low the rates are. So we're paying right now only $8 an hour for those that come in to substitute for secretarial positions, hall monitors, recess aides, and in our cafeterias, and only $9 per hour for teacher assistants. When we look at this across the county and the region, you'll see that we are far below where others are. So we are dead last in terms of how we're paying folks in these capacities. And when we're talking about substitutes, whether we're talking about teachers or subs for support staff, we're all competing for the same individuals. And our districts are very close in proximity. So if I'm seeking work and this is the type of work that I want to do, I can easily drive a little bit further and earn a little bit more money to perform very similar work. Our fill rates are not very good. And in talking with my colleagues in the county, I was relieved to hear that they are having the same struggles. Central Bucks, who is really, deserves a lot of credit for staying above struggling fill rates on the professional side, is seeing the same struggle that we're seeing on the support side. We're running about 40% of a fill rate, both for this school year and last school year, and they're running around the same. So what I'm asking for tonight is not a magic wand. It's not going to cure this fill rate, but it will likely help. So the proposal that I have for you is to raise the rate for our clerical positions, hall monitors, recess aides, and cafe aides from 8 to 11 and 13 for teacher assistants. On occasion, and it's not very frequently, as you can see in the slides, we will have assignments that are over 10 days but under 90. When an assignment is over 90 consecutive days, that person does go on scale. In this particular unit, we don't see a lot of leaves. So last year and the year before, there were only 8 and 9 in this category respectively. So right now we pay $1 more, so that's what you see here, 12 and 14. The cost to raise the rate will be $96,726 to our budget. And what Bob did in assisting me in putting this together was look at the total number of hours against the current rates and then increase them based on the proposals, and then include FICA, retirement, workers' comp, and unemployment. So there is a cost to the district, but I do think that while again, it's not a magic wand, I think that it will help a situation that we really do need to address. I know our support staff is abundantly gracious in giving up their breaks, sometimes their lunches. It's very difficult on them, the substitute situation, and I feel that some of our recruitment efforts have just fallen so flat, because if I can go to Home Depot or Lowe's and make a better wage, why wouldn't I do that? I don't think this is going to bring us up to 80 or 90%, but I think it will help. And it will also show our support staff that this is important to us and that we do want to try to help them make it better.
How do we recruit people?
So things that I've done in the past, because I think that the market for this is local, is use the patch, advertised at the Bucks County Community College on their bulletin board, and those have been my two primary ways. I like the patch because I think people do read it here locally, and it's a good way to grab maybe parents who are home with kids or who need part-time work
When was the last time they saw a raise?
I've been here about 7 years and not in my time.
So what I observed was you said Central Bucks was up at $14 an hour, I believe. They were at the top of the scale.
I think Ben Salem just came, Ben Salem came in at 16. I spoke to Felicity and she explained that they just raised their rates recently because she was hopeful that it would help their fill rates. So right now they're at 16.25 and that is very recent.
So they're, oh, that's,
And so-
that you haven't seen the results of they haven't seen the effect of increasing the rates yet, okay?
Yeah, it
'Cause I would
is.
think if they were the same, all I know is $8 is out of whack with the living wage for a very important job that these substitutes do. So, would like, hopefully we'll see some benefit on fill, which I think you made it clear compared to Home Depot or work here, you know.
We've received 76 applications to date for support staff substituting, and of the 76, we were able to onboard 30. 30 folks just did not respond to repeated outreach, like, please come in, we would love to have you. And I don't know if that's when they discover the rate or they begin to look around. So I think 76 is a good number of interest from start of the school year to today. So I feel hopeful that we can begin to make improvements.
So what, and Bob, this was for you, what was the percentage increase on existing fill rates that you used to figure out the 100K?
If you go back to it, you can see that you will see assumed increase in hours is 20%. So I increased that.
So what's that mean, the fill rates as an example, since you showed us?
When the fill rate, give me a fill rate.
Like
40%. The fill rate then would be 50%. Yeah.
Because I don't have a problem trying this strategy like we did with the teachers. What I want to be sure though is that for the incremental 100 grand, it's not going to the base. You know what I mean? The existing. So, you know, I kind of like to understand how much are we paying for business we're already getting versus what are we paying for incrementality. And then let's take a look at what growth we actually drive to see if that's making a big enough impact. And the second question that I would add is, you know, how long are we giving ourselves to try this? You guys want this to go into the new school year, or you want this immediately?
No, we would request it immediately.
Okay, so when would you evaluate it? Would you evaluate it as we close the budget cycle, or how much time do you have to give it to you know what it did?
I think one of the certain sense of it, to go through the spring, will be a total complete picture, probably not. But if this is approved on February 21st, we put a fairly aggressive advertising programs together, those channels, social media, our website, email blasts, et cetera. You know, you still got 3.5 months of school left. So I think there's some opportunity there.
Because the question then becomes, if we're not getting a huge lift for all this money we're putting into the base, what's the next step? So we did this with the substitute teachers, and then we went down the agency side. Is that also an option for this?
That has been our thinking, and that this would be the first step to see if there would be improvement. I met with ESS recently just to talk about how things are going on the professional side and began to explore if they would be interested in this piece. And they express a little bit of hesitancy because they're not as successful in this arena as they are on the professional side. They didn't seem unwilling to take it over, but definitely couldn't promise like an 80% or a 90% fill rate.
Are there other agencies that specialize more in support staff versus teachers, or we just don't know yet?
I don't know yet. I would be hesitant to have two groups working with our staff, but I would want to talk with them more and see, you know, what the deliverable will be. I wouldn't want to pay them a lot of money to do something where maybe it's not going to yield a big result.
Okay, thank you.
I would just like to see a really good marketing effort here, because the money to me, I mean, the money matters, but those fill rates are really low, and that's more alarming to me. So, I mean, I think this could go on PTO newsletters maybe, or, because there are probably parents who are looking for jobs that coincide with the days their kids are in school.
Yeah,
Been talking
let
with-
Susan do that.
Yeah, been talking with
Okay, great.
Susan O'Grady about this very thing, so I think she has some ideas for me.
Good to go on this consent?
Yes.
Yep. Thank you. Any suggestions?
Please make it happen.
Good. Okay. The second item that's going to go on the consent agenda with your approval is the recommendation to approve the Bucks County Intermediate Units programs and services, instructional materials, and research services budget. So as you all know, as the Bucks County School District, we are served by the Bucks County IU, and as is mandated by the school code, we have to make a contribution to the IU's budget. So the IU's primary business is selling services, but there's also contributions received from all school districts. So this is something that it's required that the board vote on this at this time of year. The highlight, the overall budget to the IU in terms of member district contributions is flat. Contributions $592,000 spread across all of the Bucks County school districts. Our contribution is increasing slightly. If you are interested in how that formula works, it's exceptionally complicated. It's on page 58 of the document that was posted on board docs for you. And no, I can't explain it. I know it has to do with our aid ratio and our services for our number of kids that we have, but they take the total dollars, smush everybody into the formula depending on our change in enrollment, change in aid ratio, and out comes a factor, and then it's allocated based on that, the 500.
You know, it might not be a bad idea just for the public benefit, rather try and understand the calculation is, and I'm looking kind of here, is maybe a quick overview of the kinds of things that we get, our district gets for the $88,000 that we pay for.
Yeah, we can have that ready on the 21st.
I think that'd be great, just to give people a sense for what.
Absolutely.
We talked about this at the last IU meeting, and, they put it up and they showed all 13 districts and their contributions. And the interesting thing is that overall, their budget has increased, but they got a lot of money from the state and federal government. So for this portion, it was the same thing. This district was down by $2,000. We were up by $7,000. It was the same thing. It is on this portion.
Page 36.
But I think it's good for the public to understand the value that the IU provide as an example, the leadership role in school start times or whatever it is. So that way, when they see this line item, here's why they're important.
Yeah, there's a lot of value for this amount of money for sure. So, yep, we'll highlight that.
Great.
The way you can see here is our comparative contribution from 18-19, just under $87,000. We're now closing in on $89,000, an increase of about $1,800 year over year. So that's very small comparatively on our overall budget. So our recommendation is to have this on the consent agenda February 21st, and we'll have some more information for you at that time. Excellent. Good to go. Thank you. The last item that I have is to make a recommendation to change the voting delegate for the Bucks County Tax Collection Committee. The Tax Collection Committee was formed when the state passed Act 32 of 2008, which, as you may recall, consolidated collection of earned income taxes. It used to be collected by municipalities, generally speaking, but it's now done on a countywide basis. So the TCC is the governing body that handles that. As you probably all know, Keystone actually collects the earned income taxes, but the municipalities and school districts in Bucks County actually serve on a governing board that selects the collector, spends a little bit of money on advertising for meetings, and generally they have public meetings much like we do as a school district. So with Mr. Reinhardt's retirement, she is excited about it here, we would recommend that I become the primary voting delegate. I will attend the TCC meetings as they occur through the years, about quarterly. If I am unable to attend for any reason, it will remain Mrs. Carlowitz, the alternate delegate. Any questions?
Great. Congratulations, Mr. Stone, on your first meeting. Well done. You run a very efficient meeting.
Love
You
it.
can keep them all in
I will do my
that
best.
range, that's pretty awesome.
Tell you what, Shane just hits the board. Is there any public comment? Okay. See you all next week at facilities, meeting adjourned.